Baltimore Ravens suffered a tough loss to the Detroit Lions in Week 3 of the 2025 season. And the offensive line, the defense, Lamar Jackson, all points of conversation. A former Ravens offensive lineman joins us to break everything down coming up on Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Ravens. Welcome into the show. I'm your host, Kevin Ostreicher of Ravens Wire, here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much for being here, making Locked On Ravens a part of your day and your first listen each and every single day. Free and available all podcasting platforms. And of course, thank you to all the everydayers, first-time listeners. If you're somewhere in the middle, thank you as well. 5 days a week plus more of that daily Ravens coverage, of course. And I want to remind everyone, today's episode of Locked On Ravens is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Ravens was a tough one in Week 3 against the Lions. We're going to break down the offensive line play, the defense play, Lamar Jackson, and here to do that with us today, former Ravens offensive lineman Matt Skura joins the show. Matt, I appreciate you taking the time, and like we were talking about off the air before we started, wish it was under better Ravens circumstances. I was hoping it'd be a big Monday night win, but unfortunately the Ravens fall to 1-2, and they will go to Arrowhead, a tough place to play, to face the Kansas City Chiefs in week number 4. How you doing, and what's your assessment of this Ravens team right now? I mean, you still have guys on the team that you played with, coaches that are still there. I mean, I know you're still watching and still assessing what's going on right now.
Definitely a tough loss. You know, big stages like that always require your best, and it's also the most eyes that are going to be watching as well. I was really excited. I mean, I think overall, yes, it was a disappointing loss. It was a good game. It was exciting. It's definitely a double-edged sword that they have a short week, but they also have to go to Arrowhead. And so hopefully I believe, you know, the makeup of this team is where they can turn the page, learn from the tape, and then move on. Because that's just what you have to do. You got to be able to learn from it. Don't allow this week to define next week, because this is a huge opportunity to completely flip the script on the season as well.
Yeah, it's good that this is happening definitely early. It's week 3, not week 13, when you really might have to start not hitting the panic button, but figuring out, man, we have only a couple weeks before the playoffs begin. At least you have a lot of time. There's still a long season ahead, but certainly some things to figure out, Matt. And I know the Ravens offensive line's been a big point early on in this season. The Ravens 7 sacks happened with Lamar Jackson on Monday night. Now, 30 pressures was the number that PFF charted, which you look at that number, you're like, whoa, that's a really big number. Now, there's added context to that now, where the offensive line itself was charted with 12 pressures and 3 sacks allowed. Obviously, you're working with some inexperienced players like an Andrew Voorhees who's stepping in. Obviously, Roger Rosengarten's in his second season. Daniel Falele made a big transition over to right guard from tackle. And I know you know a thing or two about transitioning positions on the offensive line. I mean, for you right now, I want to get just a very general assessment from you first, then we'll kind of dive into a little bit of specifics. What's kind of your general blunt assessment right now of where the Ravens offensive line is and kind of what you've seen out there?
Yeah, I think big picture, the chemistry is still coming together. So Ronnie and Linderbaum didn't play in the preseason, and so they're still getting their bearings essentially from training camp, basically going from 0 to 100. So that can take some time as well. You know, I just think back onto some of those, like going back to even like 2018, where our running game didn't really start out all that great. We were winning some games, but it was starting to definitely be a little bit of a distraction. And really, we just had to take ownership of it and say, okay, what do we need to do to fix it? And so I think the chemistry is still coming together. They've played a lot, you know, going even back to last year playing together, but it's a new season. They need to just continue to form those bonds, definitely on the communication front, making sure everyone's on the same page, because they're playing hard. Like, you see the mentality there. I think just from watching the tape, you just kind of see it's just still a little bit off. And if I had to, I think maybe pinpoint it to one thing, is maybe just everyone's still coming together from preseason into the regular season.
I was going to ask you about that later in the show, so I'm glad you brought it up. I'm going to change it to now because it's relevant to the conversation of it's different from, back when there were 4 preseason games. You had kind of like a set. Starters might play half of a quarter in the first game, maybe a quarter in the second. You get your dress rehearsal in the third game, then no starters play at all in the fourth game. Now teams are using the preseason differently. The Ravens, obviously, their approach is not playing their starters at all. You mentioned Ronnie and Tyler not playing in the preseason, along with most, if not all, of those starters. Is that something that teams should be focusing on a little bit more in terms of maybe getting their guys at least a little bit of work? I know, obviously, when JK went down in that Commanders game in 2021, it was tough, right? I mean, you try to get a little bit of work in, you lose a key contributor for the season. I know the Ravens, that was a tough moment for the team. Do you think that maybe the approach should change for Baltimore back to getting that starting group some work? Because, you don't want to use the first couple weeks essentially as your dress rehearsals. That's what the preseason's for.
Right. It's such a tough balance because it's such a case by case basis. Like some guys, like speaking for myself, like I need the preseason games to really like break in my routine. How's it feel to be in a game jersey, to go through the full gamut of getting to the stadium, going through warm-ups, feeling like the first play jitters and then getting them out throughout the course of a game. And, it's definitely tough because you don't want to lose anyone to injury. You don't want to completely derail your season that early. So is it something that they should adopt? I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to have to come down to some like the individual guys being like, hey, I just need to get a couple series. I think like even that's fine. It doesn't need to be a half or 3/4, anything significant, but just to feel it out and just kind of get those game reps where the communication's live, the hitting is live. I think that's important as well. So I don't know if it's anything that they change, but it is just different from when it was 4 preseason games where you could go through basically 2 or 3 games and be ready to go. That 4th preseason game is for the younger guys, and then you're pretty much rolling into the season.
Right. It has been a really big shift. And I think, we saw with Voorhees and Falele playing in the preseason, them trying to get some extra work in, get them ready. And I know with that inexperience, sometimes when you're a team that's contending, it's almost like, the mistakes are almost magnified because, on a rebuilding team, it's like, okay, you're learning, you're making those mistakes. It's okay. But on a contending team, like that can be the difference between a win and a loss, essentially, which hurts your seeding chances, whatever it may be. So when you look at some of these younger guys, a Falele, a Voorhees, a Rosengarten, who have had some certain ups and downs over the course of their time so far, what should the message kind of be right now? Because Linderbaum obviously also is still a younger guy, but he's obviously Pro Bowler. Like he's established himself in the league. When you're looking at those other guys, they're looking to establish themselves like a Linderbaum. What do you kind of see out of those guys? Because some of the moments they've had have been great, and others have certainly hurt the Ravens in spots.
Yeah, I think especially with guys young in their career, it's not getting so up and down. Like when the highs are high, everything's great. When the lows are low, like just going into the tank. You just have to understand as a young guy, like those plays are going to happen, but what can I do throughout the week so that I can change so I'm not repeating those mistakes again? And it takes sometimes like a brutal review of yourself and of your film. When I had to step in for Marshall at right guard, like that was a tough transition for me because I'd just been playing only center. And, I just had to figure out ways like, where can I get extra reps? Is it after practice? I mean, I was even doing pass sets at right guard in my living room with no furniture, just to get a better feel for it. So I think with young guys, it helps that they have both a good mix of old and young leadership around them with Rosengarten, Linderbaum, and Ronnie to kind of help them along, get them acclimated, and continuing to develop that bond and communication. And then I think the biggest thing too is like the consistency. And that's just one of the toughest parts of offensive line play is how can I maintain this consistency play by play throughout an entire game? And then how do I maintain that week to week? And so that's just part of the maturity and kind of finding their niche and technique that allows them to play at their best. That's just like one of the things that I learned too. It's like, especially going from college to NFL and then growing into your profession, is I got to be on it every single week because especially being the Ravens, like everyone is coming for you. They're playing their best when they're playing you. It doesn't matter if you're playing at home or playing at their stadium. Like they want to embarrass you. They want to be the one to get a sack on Lamar, and because they know that the Ravens are contenders. So you just have to have that mentality as well of like, I'm not only defending like myself and my career, but it's also like the guys around me as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially the messaging that I'm hearing is like the consistency is key. They got to get that going. And look, it's early enough in the season that we know that they can turn it around. I mean, we saw, even if you want to talk about the defense from last year, pass defense was struggling all the way up until like midway through the season. Then they turned it around in a jiffy and they became one of the best pass defenses in the league. So kind of relating that back to the offensive line, I think it's an interesting mix of guys there because, again, like you have Daniel Falele, who was a tackle, and then he was obviously switched over to guard. And, Rosengarten's playing right tackle. And, Voorhees is entering his first full season. But it sounds to me like you're confident in the group. They just need to really figure out the identity of one another. And, that starts with just being on the field together.
100%. And they'll get it figured out. Like, again, it is week 3 and there have been some like primetime games, so that throws things into the spotlight as well. And yeah, I mean, I have no doubt that they'll continue to gel, get it together. Like that's just also part of the season too. Like sometimes you throw in a new scheme and like that completely unlocks a whole new level of play from everyone that none of us were expecting. And so, yeah, I mean, I have no reservations about like talent or anything like that. It's just, again, developing that bond, understanding that's still early, but it's time. It's starting to find that groove and really getting that consistency going.
We know the offensive line was a big contention point in week 3, but also Lamar Jackson. He's somebody that's been catching a little bit of flack for maybe how long he held on to the ball, which is an interesting conversation point. So coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about that as well as what Lamar Jackson himself had to say about the sacks in week 3. So be sure to stay tuned. A lot coming up on Locked On Ravens. First, this show is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same attention to how they craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Nappa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but. From smooth handling to intuitive controls, with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Back on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Ostreicher and former Ravens offensive lineman Matt Skura still diving into Ravens content and coverage. Ravens, a rough one against the Lions in week 3. Big game against Kansas City in week 4. And Matt, continuing on with what we were diving into, the offensive line, as I mentioned by PFF, charted for 12 pressures. And again, 30 is a big number, but there was also the conversation point of Lamar Jackson holding on to the ball and trying to maybe make something happen, which, by the way, Lamar is the best in the world at doing that, holding onto the ball, finding something and making something happen. But in this game, the Lions, I thought, played him really well. They were generating some pressure even when they weren't blitzing. And Lamar was asked about being sacked 7 times, and he was talking about how the Lions were doing stunts and they had a spy. And he said sometimes the spy was grabbing his leg and they were dropping into coverage, had 3 safeties. And he said he's not going to just throw a Hail Mary ball up there. He's going to try to read the coverage out and then try to make something happen off of that. When you were watching Lamar in this game, I mean, you played with him, you know his tendencies and kind of what he was able to do when you were on the field with him. We know that he can make those plays happen, but was there a little bit of, all right, maybe throwing the ball away here on a play would be good, or maybe a check down option here? Or did you think that overall he was just trying to do what we know Lamar Jackson can do, and that's just a part of his game?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think towards the end of the game, you could sense that the coverage was really tight. The spy, I think, kind of threw him off as well. And yeah, I think that made him second guess just for a second. You saw, I think, a couple pump fakes. And then they have a great rush as well. So it's always tough when you're trying to balance not forcing a play, but also when to just throw it away, when to try to use your feet and run. Because I think what we've seen from Lamar is like how much he's developed as a passer and how much he truly wants to be a pocket passer. And we know his arm talent. I mean, even the game last night, there were some incredible throws and catches that were being made. And so I think he wants to make those plays with his arm. And I think he said that too. Like he wants to make those plays with his arm more than his legs.
Yeah.
And so sometimes he just gets into that mode, and I can totally see why. Like you not only want to have the ball in his hands, but he wants to get the ball to like the best players on the field too. So it can be just frustrating as well if they're giving a bunch of weird looks, coverages that make you just think for like half a second, something that just is a little bit different from your preparation. And yeah, so I think this game too is just like a big learning moment for the entire team, and just like, okay, what do we need to work on so that doesn't happen again on both sides of the ball? And because for me, it's like, I know like those guys embrace these things as a challenge and an opportunity to grow. And so that's also like, I feel that for them too. Like I know how badly they want to win, how hard they work, how much they prepare. So when those things don't pan out, I know it makes them work that much harder.
You've blocked for 2 very different quarterbacks in Baltimore, in Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson. And I think that when you kind of talk about what it's like blocking for Lamar, and we've heard a lot of people talk about it just over the course of their times in Baltimore, is there just a different type of maybe clock in your head that goes off, or is there just like that assumption that, hey, if I don't see something happen in X amount of time, I know I got to go over here and help, or Lamar's going to make something happen? I mean, what's it like to actually be on the field blocking for Lamar Jackson in some of these moments?
I mean, it's definitely exciting. Like you never know if he's going to use his feet or his hand or his arm, but you eventually like get a sense for it, especially how the defensive linemen are rushing. If you feel a defensive lineman like start to almost like back up and pull away and then start moving laterally, then you know you got to start kind of mirroring them, because Lamar is behind you. You don't exactly see where he is. You kind of got to use where the defensive lineman's going to make a path for him. But there's definitely been times where, yeah, like I'm blocking my guy and then I just see a flash right in my peripheral vision and Lamar's taken off. Or you feel like you're not even in an NFL game, you're in the backyard because he's switching sides of the field and you're kind of just playing basketball essentially by shielding guys and making sure you're not getting a holding call. So I think that was one of the best things I learned from blocking with Lamar too was like learning how not to get a holding penalty and to really trust like the athletic version of him where you can just let a guy go because Lamar is going to make someone miss, and you just have to really trust that when you let go, it's all going to take care of itself. So it's definitely different, but it helped in so many ways too.
It's so crazy how he can make some of those plays. Do you have a favorite? Is there like one play you specifically remember?
I would say the 2019 game against the Bengals when he had like the spin move and then ran for a touchdown, because it was a pretty like normal inside zone play for us, zone read play. And I thought he was going to get tackled. So I kind of stopped. And when I saw him spin out of it, like it was incredible. I tried to sprint and like catch up because I was so excited. But that was just like one of those plays that's ingrained in your memory. And it was, I think like that play was the one that solidified the MVP race as well. It was just like another one of those crazy magical plays that he always finds a way to come up with. I think it might have been like a Raiders game as well, where he was just like, it felt like everyone on the defense was like running on each side of the field, and Lamar was running around, and he ended up running like 30, 40 yards. There's a ton, like the Seattle game where we went for it on 4th and 1. I mean, there's just like so many like plays, and now like watching on TV too, I'm still like he's faster than ever. Looks great. I mean, it's pretty incredible just to watch, and then you can compare it to other teams, right? Like trying to see other teams copycat the plays, and it's like there's only one Lamar, and the reason why some of these plays are successful is because he's one of one in who he is.
He absolutely, one of one is a very good way to describe him. And it's so crazy, Matt, because obviously you were there just kind of watching the growth of early career Lamar Jackson from his rookie year and to where he is now. I mean, we've seen such growth, such improvement, obviously on the field. Even as a leader, he's become more vocal in that area. And he's not like your rah-rah type of leader in the middle of the huddle or anything, but he leads by example, it feels like. I mean, what type of growth have you seen from him? Both obviously being with him and then watching from afar here as he's kind of grown and multiple time MVP, historic records. I mean, he's done so much in this league and still he is 28 years old.
I feel like just his overall, I don't want to say like maturity because he's not immature, but just like how he's grown both on and off the field, just the game for him just slowing down so much more. I mean, it's truly amazing to see how he's developed as a passer. Like we've always known he had a great arm, but to see him just like almost effortlessly throw 30, 40, 50 yards. I mean, it's insane. I'm just like, oh my God, like it's truly incredible. But I think the thing that people don't know about Lamar is like, he is like a pretty raw guy. He is honestly probably one of the most competitive teammates I've ever had. Like, and I think a lot of people don't see it because it is a lot of times like in the huddle and the way he is speaking to the offense and the offensive line. And when we come off on the field after a drive and how he speaks to the team, like he is extremely passionate about the game. And I think that's something he's been more comfortable sharing and being more vulnerable with the locker room with that. Like I think probably the first 2-3 years, like trying to just get used to everyone's vibe and how they kind of listen to all that. But I mean, like he has truly developed as a leader, the face of the franchise, someone that guys can lean on, someone that like builds confidence in everyone else, like how he speaks to his teammates and speaks life into them. I mean, it's incredible. And you see why the team has the success it does.
Yeah, it's been amazing to watch the growth there for Lamar, and he is well on his way to becoming one of the best that this game has ever seen. And obviously, the next step is a Super Bowl championship. But again, early in the season, still a lot of time to work out everything and figure things out. And coming up in the final part of the show, Matt and I will talk about his NFL journey, some of the guys he played with and was coached by, as well as a little bit more conversation on that Ravens team as they look to pick up a big win in Kansas City in Week 4. Stay tuned. Plenty coming your way on the show. First, this show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building same-game parlays, even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. And it's time. We got to flip the page. Lions game happened for the Ravens. Moving on to Week 4, the Ravens are traveling to Arrowhead to face the Kansas City Chiefs. And right now, the Ravens are 2.5-point road favorites against the Chiefs. And I know Arrowhead's a tough place to play. Baltimore and Kansas City, one team's going to be 1-3. The Ravens hopefully will not be that team. They're going to look to get back on track there. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Back on Locked On Ravens with Matt Skura. I am Kevin Ostreicher. Still talking Ravens here. And Matt, I have to start this segment off by asking you, you come to Baltimore as an undrafted guy. What did you know about Baltimore before you got to Baltimore? Did you show up and you're like, what is Old Bay? Like, oh, they eat a lot of crabs here. Like, what's good? Everybody likes the flag. Like, did you know anything about Baltimore, or did you kind of have to learn as you went?
So I knew Baltimore mostly from the football perspective. So I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and lived there until I was 14. So I grew up diehard Steelers fan, Pirates, Penguin, like the whole bit. So I grew up on that rivalry and understanding the physicality and like what the Ravens were about. I didn't know much, honestly, about Baltimore. I don't think I had really ever visited there. And it's funny, like when I first got there too, like I didn't really have many Ravens gear. So I would just wear my Duke stuff around.
Yeah.
And so not realize, like forgetting completely about the Maryland and Duke rivalry that went on. I would be like having breakfast and people would come up like chirping me about my Duke shirt. and like, I laugh it off. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't have any Ravens stuff to wear yet. Like I'm not fully ingrained, but like now, I have Old Bay seasoning at my house. I've got the Old Bay hot sauce. Like can only eat crab cakes in Maryland.
Yep.
Like I think food wise, I've definitely become spoiled in that way. That's what I tell people all the time. Like Baltimore is one of the most underrated food cities in America. Like I will, stand on the table for that. And no, I've just embraced Baltimore so much. Like I love the city. My wife and I love it there. My son was born there. My oldest daughter, she is a diehard Ravens fan. Like was asking me, she didn't make it all the way through the game. She fell asleep, but the first thing in the morning, she's like, "What was the score?" And gotta break her the news.
Yeah.
But, no, like so our family's fully invested, and that's kind of my story into Baltimore.
I love that. Have you kept up with the whole Baltimore Pittsburgh food stuff with Patrick Queen and him saying that Pittsburgh food is so much better? I mean, it's the Permane Bros. Am I saying that right? Permane Bros is the big thing in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. No, I've seen it a little bit. I'm like, I don't think Pittsburgh has like the variety that Baltimore does. Like Baltimore has Italian, you have seafood, you have Korean, you have Hispanic, like the Asian, like all of it is incredible. Like I don't know, maybe I'll have to make another trip to Pittsburgh to see and to maybe refresh my memory. But that's what I think about Baltimore. Like just the variety, and no matter where you eat, you're going to get great food.
I'm glad you have had Old Bay in your life for a little while now, and you've embraced that. That is the ultimate like Baltimore thing. So I love that. But
Oh yeah.
getting back into kind of the football side of things for you, Matt, obviously you played on that line with a lot of great guys. You mentioned Marshall Yanda, you mentioned Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie's obviously still with the team right now. And, him coming back from his injury, working his way and going through what he went through was huge. And, playing with Joe, who again he's still going strong. He's still out there playing. I mean, what do you kind of remember from your tenure in Baltimore? I mean, John Harbaugh, him as a coach, what's he kind of like? What was your overall experience?
Oh man, I mean, it's kind of hard to fully explain, but like truly like an amazing experience and something that I am extremely grateful for. Like just from top down, an incredible organization, everyone in alignment, you have stability, you have great people. I've got so many great stories. Like Harbaugh, he's a tough coach and he's going to be tough on you. He demands excellence and toughness, physical play every single week. And that's what I love and embrace. And so he got so much out of me and brought the best out of me. Flacco, like I remember, I think it was my rookie or second year, and I think I was eating breakfast or lunch all by myself, and just sitting down, head down, and then someone comes over and sits with me, and it's Joe, and just starts asking me a little bit about myself, where I went to school, where I'm from, what it's been like, the transition, and like that was such a huge moment for me in my career, because I didn't know that I was going to, go on to then start, and him and I would, become the center quarterback group. And so I remember like that, just like Joe kind of just connecting with me on a human to human level. Ronnie and I, he was the first round pick and I was undrafted, but him and I are still very close. We try to talk almost every week. I don't like to bug him, but him and I stay in contact. We're both really close. And yeah, I mean, like it's an incredible organization. There's a reason why they win so often. And I'm just, forever grateful for that experience, because it really did set me up for success for a longer career that I could have ever imagined.
Yeah, and I know that's the kind of the reputation Baltimore has, and it's awesome to hear those stories. And everybody, it feels like it's a super accepting organization from the outside looking in, and to kind of get that inside perspective is incredible. But Matt, I want to end just like we started with a question about the offense and the offensive line here. Patrick Ricard is someone that you played with as well. And this was back when he was still playing some defense. I know obviously now he's a full offense fullback. He hasn't played these first 3 weeks. He's a big part of what the Ravens do on the offensive side of the ball. Do you attribute maybe some of the, I don't know if I want to call them struggles, inconsistencies, whatever it is, do you kind of relate that to Ricard not being out there? I mean, how big of a role does he truly play, you being on the field with him and kind of watching him grow? Is that something that the Ravens are missing out there right now?
Well, he definitely sensed the tone with the physicality and the mentality going into a game. Like, when Pat's on the field with you, like people are about to get hit and bodies are going to be moved off the line of scrimmage. So I think just even his presence not being there, I mean, like I would think that that's something that is missing. And so I think once they get him back, that will be a huge piece. And just because he can be used both in the run and pass game, and he is a dynamic player and adds a different level of diversity with different run plays and getting, involved in the pass game a little bit. So yeah, I know that like when Pat comes into the game, especially as an offensive lineman, like, all right, sweet, like this is about to be a physical play. It doesn't matter if it's run or pass, it's about to be physical. So that's what I love about playing with Pat.
Yeah, hopefully he'll be able to be back soon. I know those calf injuries can be tricky, so ideally he'll be back next week. But of course, we'll have to wait and see. Matt, I appreciate you so much for taking the time. Thank you for hopping on. Before I get you out of here, tell people where they can find you, what you're working on, and what you have going on right now.
Yeah, you can find me on most major social medias. I've made it nice and simple, like Twitter and Instagram. It's all the same. It's just mskura62. And then I also write a weekly newsletter about the principles that I've taken from football and how I've used them in life and leadership, resilience, mental health, all sorts of things. So that's on Substack. And it's just Matt Skura's newsletter. Again, just keep it nice and simple. And that's where you can find me.
Nice and simple. I love it. I love it. Well, those links to Matt's work all will be in the description down below. So be sure to support him with the newsletter, follow him on social media. You'll probably get some really good insights. I'll just tell you that right now. So Matt, I appreciate you again. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who watched and listened today to Locked On Ravens. Coming up tomorrow, we'll be back here with more Ravens content and coverage. So be sure to hit the like and subscribe button in video form, follow along in audio form, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On Ravens.